This is the 135th day of Ukrainian resistance. This is Media Center Ukraine. I'm Vasily Samokhvalov. With us, we have Ivan Fedorov, the mayor of Melitopol. We discuss the situation in the city, in the region. Good day, greetings. The war has changed drastically. In the last week, we see the Russians' ammunition depots exploding all around. The bridges are disappearing into thin air, and this is connected to the area around your city. Yet another bridge was detonated to Tokmak yesterday. So tell us, how are the Russians taking it? How are the locals taking it, as their perception of war might have changed? To begin with, let's discuss the way the Russians are taking it, and they are panicking. They used to be relaxed in Melitopol, feeling safe and secure, perceiving no threat for themselves, but following the weekend night when the military base was blown to pieces, which served as a key logistical hub in the south of Ukraine, following more than 200 Russian servicemen were buried in the military base and 400 injured, their perception has changed. Now they're panicking. Let us then discuss their current action. As for the locals, the majority of the people are feeling elated, believing that the Ukrainian government will resume control of the territory, but also the locals have been exposed to a new level of threat emanating from the Russians, who are beginning to seek out the resistance fightings, who are seeking the traitors, well, the traitors as they see it, seeking those who are assisting the resistance forces, who are assisting the Ukrainian special services. So the city of Melitopol has been blocked for a while, and the settlements that are close to the bridge, that are close to the train that was derailed, have also been blocked and are going through the filtration uh, efforts. As for the temporarily occupied territories, we see new units arriving of the Russian police, new units of the FSB, uh, implementing filtration, shutting down and cordoning entire districts, stopping all the people at the crossroads. And just a few years ago, we heard about a district called Novy Melitopol with 30,000 people living in it. And there is one road leading to it through the railway road, and now this crossing has been blocked because the Russians are deploying the air defenses close to it. The intent isn't clear, but they are amassing their armaments in Melitopol. I have a feeling they're turning Melitopol into a military camp, an outpost, as now they have put their equipment amidst the residential buildings, whatever survived in their military base. They will be positioning two such main bases in town, and there are two such camps located on the industrial sites of the city. They're repairing their hardware at the plant run by the Howlite Balisky, and it's renovating hardware for the Russians from entire line of contact. Melitopol is a logistical hub in this part of Ukraine, and the General Staff of Ukraine reported that they presume that the Russians may amass forces there to launch an assault on Zaporizhia, and this concentration is bound to happen in Melitopol. Do you feel that they are pooling forces to strike a blow, or are they rather building up their defenses? As far as we can judge in Melitopol, following the destruction of the military base, they're removing the hardware outside the city of Melitopol towards Crimea to place them out of reach for the Ukrainian Novel artillery systems. So today in the city of Melitopol, we're seeing on the one hand they are positioning their hardware amidst the residential areas and two industrial sites, and the majority of the hardware is deployed outside Melitopol. As for the assault force gathered for the major attack on Zaporizhia, we don't see this happening yet, but we see active redeployment of the Russian troops across the city of Melitopol. We've seen that actively 2 days ago. Yesterday, there was a little lull in the redeployment of the troops and hardware, but now they are placing some new air defenses and redeploying some hardware too. So I hope they will not decide to launch an assault on Zaporizhia, although the military are prepared for such an eventuality, but it doesn't look that they are planning to pull out of Melitopol at this point. I've seen a video from the market of Melitopol where the agricultural commodities are traded at cheap prices, but this is not good news. It means that the farmers cannot remove any produce and they're basically uh, throwing out their harvest. So, what is the economic situation like in the city? How are people making ends meet? I would say it is tragic development for our farmers, and the consequences will be far reaching. They won't be felt immediately, but we'll sense them in a year's time. The situation is truly dire because the city of Melitopol and other temporarily occupied cities, people had usually made a good traditional profit. They started with the greenery, with the vegetables and fruit that people raised in their plots, and this added to their salaries. Then people made a living on a holiday season along the Azov Sea coast, and this isn't happening this year too. And farmers made a living because they made a harvest after the sowing campaign, and that source of income has also dried up because the Russians have announced the price at which they're prepared to procure their agricultural commodities at least twice below the very inputs, the very cost of the produce. So people take their products to the market and they're selling their food commodities at very low prices to make some profit. And as for other products, like medications and essentials that are brought in from Crimea, they're 4 or 5 times higher than the prices seen in Ukraine. And that also should be placed in the context where 80% of the residents are unemployed. So the economic situation in the city is truly dire. There was a photo of the son of the Zaporizhia governor who tried to flee Zaporizhia and who was abducted by the Russians but then returned to the family. So this is a welcome news, but we know that there are many people who continue to be abducted by the Russians. Can you give us any numbers? According to our data, over 500 people have been taken hostages by the Russians in the 4 months. Some have been detained for a day, some for 90 hours, some have been detained for the entire 4 months since the very early days of the occupation where the Russians occupied our territory. Some are treated differently, some um, are released in exchange for a ransom paid by the family. Two were taken to Crimea, sentenced to 25 years imprisonment for a purported terrorist activity, which is pure nonsense. Some others are detained and tortured and released uh, hardly alive. So people receive different treatment, but the plight of people exacerbated by the day following the resistance events in the temporarily occupied territories, same as happened on Sunday with yet another bridge, when the entire village went through the filtration and many people from the village were forcibly detained for the interrogation, for the torture, for the interrogations. We wish the soonest liberation to the courageous people of Melitopol and for them to stay well. Thank you. This was Ivan Fedorov, the mayor of Melitopol, who shared the developments in the